Hey neighbors, how are you doing today? Welcome to the Evergreen Local Tri-Cities Edition, your go-to source for what's happening in Benton, Franklin County, from major headlines to local hero, community updates. I've got it all covered today. I'm your host Jay. Grab coffee, settle in, and let's dive into this week's top stories. Jumping into the Evergreen Local today, I wanted to start by saying I did take a week off just to kind of get everything squared away, get caught back up with life and everything. So I'm in a good place. We're doing good. Really excited to be back and Evergreen localing it up with you guys. So I'm about a week behind on local news and things like that. So this is from week ending into 23, 323, I believe, or so. So some really cool stories from around the Tri-City. So top story today is Hanford Resource Center faces closure amid cost-cutting plans. So what's happening here? The Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, plans to shut down the Hanford Resource Center, impacting workers seeking health and compensation assistance. Why does this matter? Nearly 2.5 billion in compensation has been distributed through the center, as closure will leave workers without critical support. So kind of fact checking this. So the local impact of this is that the closure of the resource center could significantly affect former and current workers seeking assistance and compensation claims related to illnesses from their employment at Hanford and PNNL. Again, it's literally 2.5 billion with compensation medical payments to Hanford workers at 435 million. L workers or their survivors. So without this local resource, individuals may face challenges in navigating the complex claims process, potentially leading to delays or difficulties in receiving entitled benefits. Let's see here. Reading down, let's fact check this a little bit. Hanford Resource Center's role: the center assists workers in filing claims under the Energy Employees Occupational Illness Compensation Program, providing compensation and medical benefits to employees who developed illnesses due to exposure at nuclear facilities. Compensation figures I've already mentioned. Leave lease termination savings. Ending the lease is projected to save about 53,700, with the annual lease costing around 19,500. So the common sense takeaways here is while reducing government expenses is a valid objective, it's crucial to consider the direct consequences on individuals who depend on specific services. So this closure may lead to significant challenges for workers seeking assistance with health-related compensation claims. So a balanced approach that weighs cost saving against the potential negative impact on vulnerable populations would be more prudent. Yeah, that's kind of a little bit about that. And then let's talk measles. The talk has been all the rage around measles. And what's the situation? Well, so we've had two cases that have been confirmed in King and Snohomish counties, a part of the larger national surge. Why is this concerning? Well, measles is highly contagious with serious health risk, especially for unvaccinated individuals. What you should do, essentially, ensure your vaccinations are up to date, protect yourself and your community. So this is as of March 23rd, 2025. Right now, an infant in King County and adult in Snohomish County. So staying on the west side for now. So we're doing okay over here on the east side. Just keep your common sense high, maintain your vaccination rate, uh, and ensure that your children are up to date on the MMR vaccine to protect themselves and their community. So that's kind of it. That's really all you can do. This one actually is really important that I do want to talk about here. Is the Pasco residents may face an 18% hike in irrigation fees. Well, they are facing an 18% hike in irrigation fees. So why the increase? Well, infrastructure upgrades and maintenance costs are driving rates up. Annual irrigation costs will nearly double by 2030, affecting homeowners and businesses. What's the alternative? Water conservation efforts and landscaping adjustments could help mitigate costs. So overall in this one, Pasco residents and businesses using the city's irrigation systems will see an 18% increase starting this spring, along with new one-time connection fees up to 1,000 for new users over the next 5 years. Rates will rise by about 80% to fully fund 14 million in needed repairs and upgrades to the aging system. The city council also approved a discount for low-income seniors. That's a bright spot here. So how this really impacts the ordinary person here is that typically single-family homes currently paying about $222 annually for irrigation will see that cost increase significantly up to nearly $400 by 2030. For some families, especially those on fixed or low incomes, these hikes may strain their budgets, prompting a shift towards water-saving alternatives. So the irrigation rates will rise by approximately 18% in 2025. New users will have that $1,000. The connection fee compared to neighboring cities, Pasco, for instance, Kennewick Irrigation District charges 715 annually for single-family homes. These rate increases are planned until about 2030 to cover infrastructure improvements that were signed off by the city already. So that's it's an unfortunate thing here, but it is what it is, unfortunately. So moving right along here, let's jump into the controversy of the week, along with the Hanford Resource Center there being shut down, losing that compensation kind of resource there for workers to claim that thing is leaving our food banks struggling. So, because of the food banks are experiencing sharp reduction in food deliveries due to federal funding cuts, demand for food aid is surging as pandemic relief has ended and more federal budget cuts loom, potentially affecting SNAP and other food assistance programs with reduced federal produce purchases and increased economic pressures on local farmers. The region's food banks and smaller community pantries face unprecedented demand. So the local impacts of this, of course, the food banks in the Tri-Cities are struggling to keep up with the rising demand, leading to food shortages at smaller pantries. Families, veterans, seniors, and people with disabilities are particularly affected. Reduced donations from federal programs and uncertainty facing local growers mean less fresh produce and shelf-stable food for those in need. On the ordinary person, particularly working families, seniors, veterans, and disabled individuals, face increased food insecurity who already struggle with rising rent and inflation, making monthly budgets impossible without assistance. With less aid and food available, many more will struggle to afford basic nutrition. Approximately 1 in 6 households in the Tri-Cities rely on SNAP benefits. Franklin County ranks second highest in Washington state for SNAP recipients. Federal food assistance programs are experiencing significant budget cuts, impacting food bank resources. Washington state could lose over 415 million in SNAP funding, increasing burdens on local taxpayers and potentially reducing benefit amounts of eligibility. So, of course, the common sense here is food banks are critical lifelines for vulnerable families, especially as federal aid diminishes. Supporting local food banks through donations, volunteering, and advocacy can directly alleviate community hunger and provide necessary stability through economically challenging times. So, again, support your local food bank if you have the means to be able to do so. Please do. It's always impactful to when we can support each other locally, especially for our families that need it the most, and our veterans and our seniors, of course, people who don't have the ability to work and to earn the same living as the ordinary person may be able to. Okay, so yeah, for sure you've heard by now. This is what I want to talk about. There's actually a bill that goes hand in hand with this. It's a new bill that was recently introduced, 1140. So we'll get to that in just a second here, but I want to talk about this first. So the Department of Education is to be dismantled. How is this going to impact our local schools? So local school districts could lose over 73 million in federal funding, which we won't. It's just the funding's just getting reallocated to different departments. As you probably have also learned by now, that it's just getting moved to new departments and whatnot. We're not really losing any. It's just being moved back, and education is going to go more to the state. Special education programs, meal assistance, Title I schools serving low-income students allegedly are the ones at risk here. But there isn't. That's not going to happen because the money's just going to get moved to a different department, and the different department's going to oversee that more or less. These funds, like I said, these funds support the special education programs, low income programs, vocational education, meal programs, migrant education more. The closure could disrupt these programs, but specifics remain unclear. So it's really unclear how this is exactly will impact us, impact our local school. Local families relying on special education, Title I assistance, meal program, other federally funded services could see reduced educational quality or accessibility. It is a fact that a lot of our children do get their primary meals at school, so that is something that can be just kind of there to think about as well. So Pasco receives at least 29 million annually, 9% of revenue in federal funds. Kennewick receives at least 27 million annually, under 9%. Richmond receives nearly 13 million annually, about 6%. Statewide federal funding averages around 7% of district budget. The DOE distributes around about 60 billion annually nationwide. So the common sense takeaway here is closing the DOE could create serious disruptions in local education, particularly vulnerable student populations. While proponents argue it would reduce bureaucracy, local schools may struggle to maintain critical programs without federal support, placing greater burdens on states, districts, and taxpayers. Well, they're already passing a massive tax bill. I'm going to cover that on the next two episodes or so are just going to be about all the taxation bills that we're going to be breaking down on the main show. So stay tuned for that later this week. I'm hopefully to put out two shows this week, episodes 9 and 10 of the Evergreen Report. And we're going to be talking about the Taxapalooza as these tax packages are getting passed through the Senate and through the House. As you're probably listening to this, hip hip hooray, more taxes. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at here. It's unclear what the future is going to look like, but House Bill 1140 did just pop up recently, which is a bill for school choice. So stay tuned for that. I doubt it's going to pass because, of course, Democrats may not want school choice for everybody, but we'll see. And I think that would be really cool to see how that shakes out here. and what it's truly going to mean for our state, because every state does it a little bit differently. We can do it like Florida, however they got it going on down there is solid. So, moving on, let's to a local hero spotlight. So this is a really, really cool story, that I wanted to highlight here on the show today. And where is it? So a Tri-City student revives Black Student Union and earns National Race Relations Prize. This is really cool because I'm biracial, but I really love this story because it's really inspiring to see our young people doing something like this. So who is she? Abigail Koch, 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 Koch? I don't know. Revived Richland's High's Black Student Union and won Princeton's Prize in Race Relations. Why does this matter? Well, she's fostering inclusivity and awareness in her school and the broader Tri-Cities community. And then, so what's next for her? She'll attend a symposium at Princeton and continue her advocacy work. So it's really cool to see a young African American lady really doing this great work. She's going to receive a $2,500 prize and attend the Race Relations Symposium at Princeton. So this is really cool. Reviving the Black Student Union provides students of color a crucial platform for dialogue, support, and community engagement in a predominantly white school district. If you're unaware and you're listening to the show from abroad, Richland is very predominantly white. So having this is just really, really cool, especially at Richland High. Really, really impressive work here. For students, particularly those from minority backgrounds, her efforts provide a sense of a belonging and visibility in the community. Her success highlights the importance of representation and student-driven initiatives in promoting positive race relations and community building. So really, really cool. I'm really excited. This is really cool. Really, really cool. So shout out to this young lady. So, in some good news, so a couple good news here is what's the first story. Well, the Columbia High School wins first state basketball title. So after 80 years, the Coyotes finally secured the 2B state championship. And massive celebrations, a parade, and strengthened school pride were all impacted here. They had a huge celebration there in the local community. It was a big party, big celebration. So shout out to these boys, shout out to these young men for securing that 2B state championship, bringing it back home to the local area, and just how important school athletics are in a small community. The sense of community, what it does for those younger kids who are like, man, I want to give up on basketball. And then seeing these young men lead the charge in their community around this is really, really cool. The other really cool story that I just wanted to highlight here, just because I'm just still not a phase, it's something I really love here. Daughtry, yes, Grammy-nominated rock band Daughtry will perform in Kennewick on August 20th during the Benton Franklin Fair. So this is exciting, mostly for me because it's a high-profile concert. So it's going to boost local tourism, fair attendance. But I've loved Daughtry since I was a small child. I've loved Daughtry ever since they were an American Idol. I grew up on Daughtry, so I think this is just great. I'm definitely going to do everything I can to attend to watch Daughtry in person at the fair. So it's really cool. And not so cool news. The issue, Forever 21 is closing at the mall, Columbia Center Mall. So by this time, I think it's already closed. So another bankruptcy marking major loss for the mall. So the mall culture is dying. There's less and less stores opening, less and less stores surviving, declining foot traffic, job losses, fewer retail options. So we have to attract new tenants, or the mall's going to be just a big abandoned building in the not too distant future. Which, I mean, it is what it is. If it does become that, it becomes that. That would suck, but it is what it is. The mall does have some really good pieces to it. Of course, the JCPenney's, the Macy's, Barnes and Nobles, Dick's Sporting Goods. So we have some good stuff at the mall area. It's pretty lively, but again, more stories like these, more businesses closing, it doesn't help anyone. Joann's also recently filed for bankruptcy and closed. The food court shrunk, less tenants there, less food options. So, less foot traffic is bad. Um, and it affects every time a business closes, it affects other businesses in the mall. So the state as a whole is facing a $4 billion transit budget shortfall over the next 6 years due to declining gas revenue. But wait, how could we have declining gas revenue when we have all these crazy gas taxes? That's my question too. I really don't know. It's quite interesting how we have all these gas taxes and whatnot, and we're still facing this revenue. Increased construction costs, of course, inflation could lead to, of course, pauses in transportation projects, freeway expansion, infrastructure improvement, and fare acquisitions. So it's just kind of a statewide problem, something to think about. Could delay significant infrastructure projects statewide, affecting critical routes like I-5, Puget Sound Gateway, Snoqualmie Pass, or Spokane Corridor. Local communities reliant on these projects could face prolonged traffic issues, structure deterioration, and economic impact. I think we're okay here in the Tri-Cities. Our roads are pretty good. They do project by project. We're coming up on road work season here in the Tri-Cities. Now that the warm weather's getting a little bit warmer, so just something to just be mindful of. Some of these projects may take longer now because of less manpower. So they'll just essentially take longer. But when it's short term, if you do more manpower, try and get the job gets done faster so you're spending less. I mean, it's just budgeting and things like that is really what it comes down to. But what do I know? I'm just a guy with a microphone going through these stories and telling you the local news so you don't have to go and read it yourself. So you know what the heck's going on. And these, of course, are all the stories that I find interesting that catch my eye, so I would figure that they would also catch your eye as well. So into public safety and health alert. So the Kennewick police shot a knife-wielding man. So what happened? Well, in summary, two Kennewick police officers shot 27-year-old Dylan Winters after he allegedly charged at them with a knife at the Arlo on 10th apartment. Officers initially responded to reports that Winters was suicidal and had cut himself. A recent captured video shows Winters abruptly charging towards officers, prompting them to fire multiple shots. Winters was hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries and will face assault charges. So residents might feel concern or anxiety about safety, police interactions, and the response to mental health emergencies. The incident underscores the importance of community support systems and clear protocols for police interactions with individuals in crisis. Yeah, if someone's charging at a police officer with a knife, they're gonna get shot. That's just what happens. I don't know what anyone expects less of that. If someone's charging at you with a knife and you have a gun, are you not gonna shoot them? These injuries were non-life threatening, so he's gonna be okay. He's gonna be just fine. The officers did the right thing. They didn't shoot to kill. They shot to disarm and to, not get a knife taken at them while was exactly their training. So good work here by the police officers. No one died. Nobody's hurt. Non-life threatening injuries. So everyone's gonna be okay. And so everything's gonna be okay. So was he in a mental health crisis? I guess only the police report would signal that if we were to know. Let's see. So, but again, mental health crises do require specialized responses, and this incident highlights the need for community resources, better, and not, I wouldn't even say better police training, because I mean, someone charges at you with a knife and you have a gun, you're gonna get shot. So I wouldn't even agree with that part of the article here, that it shows a need for better police training to handle these situations effectively and safely. If you charge at a cop with a knife, you're gonna get shot. Just no matter the circumstances, kind of thing. Remember, you're always in control of your choices. If you are having a mental health crisis, you are allowed to ask for help. Call 988, call 911, go to the emergency room, do what you got to do. But again, it is never okay to charge at anyone with a knife, especially not a police officer who will shoot you. So remember, you're always in control of yourself and your choices. So let's see. This one I really want to cover. So a $7.8 million of party drugs were smuggled into Eastern Washington from Canada. As you know, there's been a lot of controversy between Canada and the United States to make sure our borders are secure. And here we see it coming directly into Eastern Washington. A man was convicted with smuggling millions worth of ecstasy from Canada into Eastern Washington. This highlights the ongoing battle against drug trafficking in rural border areas. So in summary here, Sarin Signy, 31, from India, was found guilty by a federal jury for possessing with intent to distribute $7.8 million worth of illegal drugs, specifically ecstasy or Molly. The drugs were smuggled into eastern Washington from Canada by three unidentified individuals who carried them in backpacks and a suitcase, delivering them to Singh, who was waiting in a van. He was then stopped and arrested by the U.S. Border Patrol near Danville, Washington, after being observed via motion sensor camera. So again, this is a high level drug bust. So shout out to the law enforcement there. Shout out to border security to really working to keep these drugs out of our state and especially from our side of the state. But these things do happen. They're happening all the time. Uh, Ecstasy, Molly, and methamphetamine were all recovered from this only 174 pounds of drugs. That's a lot of drugs. Again, drug trafficking remains a significant threat, even in remote border areas. Vigilant and proactive law enforcement efforts are crucial to disrupting supply chains that contribute to drug problems in local communities. So, with that, those are just some of our stories from this week ending in 323. Next episode, of course, is going to be coming hopefully later this week for more local news. Of course, there's always more. Our area is never boring. There have been lots of car accidents, many rollover accidents. I've noticed a big trend on that. If you're part of the Tri-Cities Bad Driver Streaming on Facebook, a lot of terrible accidents have happened. So I just hope and pray for everyone who's been involved in these accidents that they're okay. And remember, I love hearing from you. Nominate your local hero, share community events, and let us know what stories matter to you the most. Stay engaged and be part of the conversation. So, again, thanks for tuning in to Evergreen Local Tri-Cities Edition. Stay connected, stay engaged, and remember your voice shaped our community. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and stay evergreen.